Okay, last time we talked, I was getting started on the floors, and I pulled up the carpet a little bit. Last weekend I didn't make a video, so I wanted to kind of catch you up on everything we've been doing. At this point in time, we've got all the carpet removed from the RV except for the slide out, which is where the couch goes, and then under the captain's chair, which I'm going to wait and do all that when we lay the new floor. We're not quite ready to do the floor yet. We've ordered the material, but we don't have it back. Hasn't come in yet. A couple things I wanted to tell you about problems that we ran into. You know, I told you about this being a Winnebago, and it didn't look like the staples were going to be that big an issue. Well, silly me. Turned out to be a huge amount of work. But I wanted to give you a couple tips. This tool here is what I use to pull the staples, and see how it's kind of rounded on the end. And so if you grab the staples, then you can kind of rock it out of the floor. So all the staples that were out in the coach itself were pretty easy to get to. There were just a lot of them, even though it was just around the edges. The main issue that I had was when I got to under the toe space, underneath the counters here, or underneath the slide, you couldn't get on top of the staples. So then I had to fall back on plan B. So on plan B, what I used were these little pair of, I call them vice grips, or that's more of a brand. But anyway, and they got the kind of the alligator nose, so you'd be able to get under there, bite onto them, and kind of roll them to the side, and then rock them out. So anyway, getting the staples from underneath this area here and under the slide probably took me about as long as taking everything out of the rest of the coach. So anyway, big job, got it done. There's probably one or two stragglers still around, but anyway, last weekend I spent quite a bit of time on that and got all that done. The other thing that was a major change is last time we talked, I told you that we'd found some gaps in here in the walls, and that we were going to have to try to figure that out, but I wasn't going to take out the little vanities on the side, and the bed frame was still in here. Well, the more I got to looking at this, what we figured out is when the motor was changed out, there are screws. I don't know if I'm going to get, yeah, see these screws across here? There's like a dozen of them going across. They didn't put any of those screws back in, and so the insulation that was here deteriorated and all fell out, and all that exhaust was coming up into the cab, so it really made a real mess. So anyway, last weekend I put new insulation in. I put all the screws back in across the top there. On this side here, we're getting a lot of sun in here today, so hopefully this will come out. On this side here, there was a slight gap. I got some foam insulation in a can and just kind of filled the gap there on that side to get it sealed up. The wall hadn't pulled away any, so this side was pretty easy to fix. On the other side over here was the real issue, and I think this all stemmed just from them not anchoring this back wall, and with the vibrations this wall actually started pulling away, and you could still see a little gap in there, but this corner, once I got the cabinet out, it actually pulled out a couple inches. And so there was a lot of fumes coming in the back of this thing. So I finally figured out how to fix it. I took some 2x4s and screwed them to the floor and put an eye bolt in them as an anchor point. And then on this wall here, I put, basically it was a handle off a fence, and I screwed it to the wall, and then I ran a rope between the two of them, and then I put a wrench in that rope and just wound it up and put tension on that rope, and I was actually able to pull that wall back in. And then in the garage, I was out there poking around, and these, you can only see half of them now because it's covered up by the foam, but these are basically some L brackets that came off a fence or something. And so I screwed them into the floor, and then I screwed them into the wall, and once I got that wall pulled in and it's holding, once I got that done, then I went back and put some insulation in there. So my next project will be to come in and run some caulking around these edges and to really try to nail this all down. And again, get it real tight. Hopefully this will hold. I mean, I really won't know until I start driving this thing and the vibrations for the engine and everything, you know, start to come through and see if everything holds. But I think I'm in pretty good shape. We're real solid here, so we're in pretty good shape. But that's kind of where we're at. You can see the floor is nice and clean. I did put some paper down over that sticky area like I told you I was going to. So basically we're ready for the vinyl flooring. We finally settled on some, and I'll tell you about it next time. We've ordered it. It should be in maybe this weekend. If it is, we can get started on this. Where I actually came out ahead on this thing was by taking the bed out, and by taking those vanities out, I'll be able to lay the tile just straight through here and then set everything back on the vanity. So it's going to save me a tremendous amount of cutting. The bed itself was so racked up from the way they put it back in that we're just going to actually build a new bed. I've got a buddy who's a trim carpenter, and we're going to get some real finished grade plywood, and we're actually going to build a whole new bed. So in the end, a lot more work, but it should come out a lot better. So anyway, I'll get back with you on the next one when we actually start laying the floor, and we'll see how this thing comes together.